Welcome back to Lens Language. Today, I actually want to try something a little bit different. Today, I will be attempting to use my film knowledge to break down the shot sequencing in an anime. So this anime is called Solo Leveling. It recently just dropped its second season. I'm thoroughly enjoying this anime. I finished the second season. The second season was very good. Primarily, the fight scenes were just amazing. The main character is very deserving of everything that he gets. And I want to start with breaking down a shorter scene. So this is Jin-Woo, our main character, versus another S-rank hunter from Japan. But his name is Goto Ryuji. And yeah, I really enjoy watching anime. And I also really enjoy breaking down film. So I thought, let me actually try to blend the two and see if I can use my film brain and just talk about that. And then, obviously, if any animators see this as well, they can tell me, well, no, it was actually done like this, it was done like this in mine. But I'll just use my film brain to kind of break this down, how I break it down, if it was shot like a movie. But yeah, let's get into it. Well, that beginning shot was a close up, or maybe medium close up, it can be classified as. If this were shot in film, it would be put on a tripod with a telephoto lens. And a telephoto lens is a lens anything above 50 millimeters. I know it's telephoto because him and the background are pretty compressed. And then there's some background blur. So the f-stop would probably, not too much background blur, even though this wall is pretty far away. So I'd estimate probably around 5.6 f-stop. It was put on a tripod because the movement is very fixed in one position, but it seems to kind of track and follow different points. It starts on his arms, and then we kind of have like a movement upwards to his face. But that's how I would interpret this shot. Kind of loose on a fluid head tripod type of, as we follow the action, and we're right up real close when we see the fist kind of come at his head. Then we have a nice cut to a bird's eye view shot. This could be achieved on like a drone or a jib or crane. But it also seems to have this kind of arc movement, or it's not necessarily called an arc movement. It's more so just spinning. Yeah, because the camera itself isn't moving. I'm not sure what that would be called. If it were right here when it was spinning, it'd be spinning on the z-axis. But since it's above, it's just kind of rotating. So, but yeah, it kind of has this like rotating feel. But the shot itself is still. There's a bit of shake, and the composition is, there's a diagonal line composition. Which if you were to study paintings and know that this diagonal line composition, very similar to the same feeling as a tilt. Basically just saying that there's a shift in, like a kind of a power shift, something going on. That diagonal line is a very strong type of composition, but it's not symmetrical. There's no type of symmetry, and it's kind of off balance. So something is kind of off balance, signifying that that punch just kind of shocked them, just kind of threw the balance off a little bit. And then I know it seems like I'm pausing every second. I really want to break down each shot because anime is different from movies because they don't hold on shots quite as long, and that is primarily because they want things to seem like they're moving even when they're not. So even if they draw still images, they'll have some type of they'll kind of move across the image and then cut to another image just to give the illusion of movement even when there is no movement. But yeah, we had a mid shot, and then we actually did a nice little a dolly out, a quick like almost like a whip dolly out. I don't know if that's a thing, but it was really fast dolly out with motion blur to bring Jin-Woo back into things. And he is also very small and shrunken in the frame now. Before he took up most of the frame, now he's small and shrunken in the frame. And if you pay attention to the weight distribution and the gridded thirds compositioning, if you draw your lines, these are the gridded thirds compositioning and the weight distribution. Sung Jin-Woo is now taking up a lot of the frame, and Goto Ryuji is now looking up to him. And this is just simple this can be achieved with a camera as well. Putting a low angle and putting him closer to your character will give the illusion that he is a lot bigger because he's closer to the camera and he's big, and this guy is now looking up to him. There's also a slight tilt because he isn't standing at a tilt. That's just how the camera is tilted. And there's also like he's leaning back and he's leaning over him. Very beautiful compositional choices. These are all purposefully done, especially when you have to draw these scenes. It's even more intentionally done. Like you see, there's no movement. There's no movement, but you kind of have to keep the illusion that there is. There's no movement, but you have to keep the illusion that there is. Yeah, simple close-ups, simple mid-shots, and then in order to show kind of like the power scaling and give the illusion that he's scanning Sung Jin-Woo, we have a still image, but there's a slow pedestal upwards to show that because we got a close-up of his face and his eyes, and he's talking about how strong he is, like at the aura, and then we get a slow pedestal up, which is definitely implying that he is scanning Sung Jin-Woo's entire frame. Mid shot. All right. Now to show that things are getting a bit more serious, we had a low angle close up of the power up that he was doing. That took up most of the frame to really put emphasis on that attack. Then we get a close up of his face to show how serious he is. Now, if you notice, there's also some lighting changes a bit. We have a bit more depth and shadows within his face. We have a nice side lighting. So this is implying that the light is coming from his right side. And it's motivated because we just saw his arm glow and illuminate with the power. So that power is now illuminating his face. And side lighting is also a one-point lighting setup, which creates a very, very dramatic look on the face because there's very, I guess these shadows aren't too harsh. So I'd say the contrast ratio is probably around a 8-to-1 or 4-to-1 contrast ratio. Is just how deep the shadows are compared to how bright the bright points are. The contrast ratio isn't too hard, but you can tell the contrast ratio is ramping up. And when the contrast ratio is ramping up, that typically means that there is more, things are more dramatic. So that's just signifying that things are getting very dramatic now. So yeah, now we get a lot more movement. We kind of dolly back with him running towards Sung Jin-Woo, and if you notice the image with him and Sung Jin-Woo, it's no longer him just small in the frame and it's tilted. They've removed the tilt to show that they're on even playing ground, and he quite literally dashes back in the frame to gain his significance again. He went from being this small guy in the frame to being a lot bigger, and he's trying to push Jin-Woo out of the frame. This is just all, it's all psychology. He's fighting for his spot in the frame and fighting for his side in the frame to dominate Sung Jin-Woo, which we still see Sung Jin-Woo is still bigger in the frame, which is implying that he is still dominant, but we now see him on the defense. A lot more movement. It's still smooth and fluent because he's in control, so we kind of got a nice little dolly or a trucking shot moving, and Sung Jin-Woo is just dodging the blows very smoothly. It's still a medium close-up type of shot to show, and it works with the voiceover that they have as well because he's still thinking of things. And now we trying to introduce some new characters, so we had that close up of the face. We slightly dollied outwards as the blows kept exchanging. We saw his reaction, and now we have a full, very, very wide shot. This is the widest shot we've had so far, which is turning into some kind of over-the-shoulder shot with our other subjects in the foreground as it dollies out to reveal them more. And now we're introducing more characters. And even though we go back to this frame, we no longer have their internal dialogue. And this shot is still pretty wide of a shot. This would be considered a wide shot. The other shot would be considered a very wide shot because it shows about 60% or more than 60% of the background as opposed to subjects framing. But this is now just a wide shot going from the feet to the head. Still one of the wider shots that we had. Oh, not the widest because we had that bird's eye view shot. But that was really to show the impact of the punch. This is now the meat of the fight, and we're still not punched in as tight, and that's because we're watching from the sidelines and we're in the heads of the background characters now watching the fight. Profile shot. Now we're actually getting in tighter. This is a beautiful oneer. This is a very beautiful oneer. I believe they used it to show that we're not only moving back into the fight, but I think that girl is actually a little bit stronger than the other guys in the background that they showed. So when we showed the girl's face at a profile thinking, we didn't cut into an even tighter shot of the fight, which is a very beautiful one. The camera was tracking. There was a lot of blocking elements going on there, a lot of pedestal rises and tilt down to bird's eye view to the camera wrapping back around to the front of the actors, all very tightly coordinated with the fight. Um, but the shots were also very tight as well. The way this would be achieved is it with a wider angle lens. So I believe probably my assumption would be like a 30 millimeter lens because as you can see, there's a bit more distortion um, and warp when things are happening, and then things also get very wide very fast. Yep, there's a bit of distortion when things get closer to camera. He's pretty far, even though he couldn't have jumped back too far, but it is a lot more depth and distance, which is achieved with a wide angle lens. And this girl, I believe, also has more keen eyesight than the other two, so it's a nice cut in when things get tighter when she starts watching because she can follow their movements a bit better. Yep, a lot of distortion, wide angle lens. Then things get very wide very fast, so that has to be a wide angle lens. The idea of him running circles around me is getting on my nerves. The lighting has gotten drastically more dramatic, even though the lighting has not changed inside the building as well. This is just for dramatic effect. This is what you can do in movie magic as well. You can make things a bit more harsher. And I do this by increasing the light source on one side, which if I turn this, I'll increase the lighting on this side, which will increase the shadows on this side if it were to adjust, which would make this side more dramatic. Or I would just add a negative fill, as you can see if my hand were to come in and block any bounce. You see it kind of covering up shadows. That's just kind of the theory and how negative fill works. But as you can see, this is a very dramatic lighting on his face. He is also at a high angle to signify that he is being looked down on and that he is weak. And then we're also in a medium close-up to get his inner monologue, where the idea of running circles around me is getting on my nerves. He's feeling very belittled right now. Change of plans. All right, now we have an ECU. This is now the tightest shot that we've had on a person's face to really show the grit and determination with the darkest lighting that we've had on this person's face. This is now things are getting extremely dramatic and things are about to ramp up to the next level. We are now feeling the seriousness of this situation, which started off so lighthearted because this was supposed to be a sparring match. But now things are ramping up and getting more serious. Now to really show the implication of power, we had an extreme close-up of the hand, which is an even closer version of his hand before when he was powering up. And when he powers up, the camera pulls back almost as to show the magnitude, as if we were standing up close to a bomb and a bomb went off and you boom, you fell backward, the bomb pushed you back. This is what we're feeling with the camera. And then we still close up on his body, but when he starts to run, he's now turns into a blur. The camera tries to keep up. It's a lot of motion blur. And the camera gets pushed back even more when he starts running, just to kind of show he is more powerful than the frame. Like, we're having trouble keeping up with him. Because if you're drawing this stuff, we wouldn't have trouble. We could see this very clearly if they chose to make it so. But they chose to show this to really imply that before we were capturing at this level with the camera, he is now breaking this level. We're going to have to start ramping that up. So we'll start following their movements a bit better later. But to show the implication of power change and power scaling shift, we have to give the illusion that the camera now has to adjust to higher levels of power. So this instant and drastic change of power was throwing us off. So we're going to have some imperfections within the camera, which is such as motion blur, such as having trouble framing him, such as having trouble catching him, and also needing to pull out, because when you're doing sports videography and stuff of that nature, you also have to pull out whenever things get too fast just to keep up. So these are all things that are being achieved here. And now we just have some very creative shots using the eye reflections, a lot of parallax movements. So how the camera compensated to keep up was by no longer just tracking him, but was to track Sung Jin-Woo, because we know that he's headed towards him. So we couldn't even keep up with the guy anymore. We strictly just went to Sung Jin-Woo to signify that, yeah, we're not catching him. So we go to Sung Jin-Woo, and we get that really nice close-up shot of him punching the face. We get his reaction as well. And then we go into his eye, use that reflection, and then, yeah, we really pull back out fast again to show the magnitude of power. Very wide shot. We get a power shock wave around him, and now he is center framed. Before, when he did that punch, it was a bird's eye view, but he was not center framed. He was in the bottom left third, gridded thirds framing with a diagonal composition. Now he is center framed, signifying the power, signifying how much space he takes up with in the frame while being such a small prominent figure. We had to pull out so fast, and we're catching this shock wave around him. But he is center frame, showing that he has the power in this frame. He is the main, and Sung Jin was not even in frame. Then we have more camera shake now. Slight camera shake. We have pans and tilts, and smoke fills the room. Oh, that hurts. Extreme close up of his hand actually being caught. Extreme close up of his eye, and if you notice, the lighting is no longer the same. The lighting is now very ambient over his whole face to show that he is that was kind of his serious mode. Now he's in awe. He has no more change of plans. You see no more grit in his eyes. You see no much darkness in his eyes. That was kind of it. He kind of gave it what he had, and now he's really shocked, and things are calming down. We as an audience now are like, whoa, things are mellowing out because the lighting is no longer as drastic. But this ECU really puts into perspective how he feels about the whole situation. That all that power he just unleashed, all that seriousness he brought out, was caught effortlessly by Sung Jin. Shock in his eyes. Now the background itself isn't moving, but if you were to achieve this actually in film, this would be more so of an arc movement or possibly just a trucking movement to the side on a dolly, where the fist and the face would be in line, but the camera right here would slowly truck or arc over, because right now if the camera's here, the fist would be right in front of the face, but if the camera moves to the side, as the camera moves, the fist will now appear more to the side like this. But yes, that is that parallax movement and how we're slowly able to get that reveal to put emphasis on the fist, but then put more emphasis on Sung Jin-Woo's facial expressions, reactions, and how we're talking as we're framed to a close-up, and then we slowly put these on their own separate grid of thirds so you can focus on whatever you want to focus on in the shot. He doesn't have a parallax because we know the hand is there. We just want to see his expression. Pretty lifeless. He grabbed my hand instead of my wrist. Yeah, he's pretty broken up about this. Or I guess it's more like a passage of power though. He's more impressed. Like they're not villains. They're not actually, but they were sparring and then he got serious because they're all S ranks. They all are the top of the top. So when someone is trying to not only just beat them but belittle them is what Sung Jin, he felt like, it hits scratches at the ego. But then at the end, once you get kind of beaten into submission, there's nothing but to really accept that you've been beaten into submission. So is how war works. War and battle works, and that's kind of the expression that we get here. I'm glad they clarified that for me because that is what I was able to pinpoint from that shot right there. And this is actually a low angle, almost breaching into triangle composition. It might be to show that things are very balanced right now. He leached a really strong attack, almost pushing him to the heels. But then we see that he's caught it, and as of this moment, this is a very strong and balanced and structurally sound composition because he is stopping. He is almost like the immovable object, and he is the unstoppable force. But he's kind of been stopped, and now they're kind of at this standstill, stalemate-ish, with the power, slightly implying that things could get off the rails, but pretty controlled right now. But yeah, then there's a low angle because their lower bodies are bigger than their upper bodies and closer to cameras, just giving that kind of triangle composition-ish. Two powerful figures. Low angles also make things appear more powerful. So these are both two very powerful figures right here. And this is the first time we've had Sung Jin-Woo with this type of dramatic lighting. Very dramatic lighting. And we also get this kind of trucking movement to reveal uh, the light and almost ease us into the dark. This is the light side easing more into the dark side, and I doubt either of us want to end that easily. Kind of showing his competitive nature, his bloodlust nature as we move more into the dark side, quite literally. And it's an ECU of his eyes, very tight shot. And things are now getting serious. He is now feeding into what Sung Jin-Woo is giving, and now we have dramatic lighting on him as well, and he's going into his dark side as well. Things are now about to get even more serious from the both of them. Before it was him getting a bit flustered. Then after getting flustered, he felt like he was being belittled still. So then he goes all in, and then once Sung Jin-Woo matches that directly, Sung Jin-Woo no longer feeling like he has to belittle him, says, "Whoa, none of us want to end this easily. This got me fired up." Now Sung Jin-Woo's getting serious, and now Goto Ryuji is back to being serious. Goto Ryuji has been the one amping up the stakes the entire time. Now we actually see Sung Jin-Woo getting into it, which is now exciting because it's no longer one-sided. It's no longer Sung Jin-Woo just trying to hang in there. It's now a full-on battle between two beasts. Now we're actually with a close-up of the feet. Yeah, they jump back apart. Still that same framing that they had before now. But if you notice, the slant has changed. They're now slanting the other way. Before, Ryuji was slanting this way, and it was like Sung Jin was looking down on him. But now it's looking, it's no longer looking like Sung Jin was just really looking down at him. It's now, while he is still small in the frame, and he is like our main protagonist, it's no longer at a low angle to purposely just make him a lot bigger. It's now him, slanting forward. How I interpret this as, it's a bit more, they're a bit more balanced, even though he's bigger, but he's determined. So it doesn't look like he's just fully dominating this guy anymore, with the tilt being shifted from this way to this way and it no longer being as low of an angle. And they both get their nice center framing as we pedestal upwards. Notice how the lighting is now below and going upward, because it seems that's implying that the power is coming up, they're going down, which we can see from their aura, and the shadows are at the top as well. And the lighting is at the bottom. This is just to show that, you know, they're both power scaling, because they're both center framing. It's no longer one just looking at one and examining one. This is what's actually happening. Now we've got a few people, their reactions, just like a mid shot of a few people. Whoa, they're getting serious. Nice two-shot compositioning. Greta Third framing again. We really get their expressions. They're all getting nervous. Now we have nice compositing and a monochromatic color scheme, which monochromatic color scheme for each separate one, as he is primarily yellow and he is primarily blue, but with them both being composited into one scene, this makes it a complementary color scheme. Blue and yellow, yeah, it still counts as complementary. It'd technically be like teal and orange, but blue and yellow is close enough. Nice little slanted line drawn in between to show that there is some type of discourse. There's off kilter. They will be having a war. And this is monochromatic because the blood would normally be red, but it's now blue, so they're all now shades of blue. And close-ups, profiles, they're looking at each other for war. They're clashing. Yep, so then we had that very extreme wide shot to show the aura filling the room and how much space they start to take, because we get extreme wide shot to show, okay, this is how big the space is, and they're filling the space. So they are very powerful. The camera began to shake as well. It became more unstable. Things are getting more powerful. And then we have an ECU of the eyes, and the eyes are glowing now. The line is no longer slanted. I guess this is to signify that they're balanced. I'm not sure, because it went from that clash to now balance. I don't know, maybe some kind of shift. There was some type of change within the line. I'm not sure if that was purposeful or if that was design choice, but nonetheless, there was. And we get a dolly inward of the eyes. Uh, yeah, they're just teasing us with these shots. All right, and then we get a dolly in following the ice, very small off frame. This is like a tactic used uh, when you want things to kind of be seen but unknown. So we couldn't fully see the ice. It happened fast. We weren't able to tell. And then we see the ice come in the middle. We get a close-up of Sung Jin-Woo's face. He's shot. What's going on? And then we see hands kind of come into frame, wrap him. Now we're still wondering what's going on. And then we dolly out into what's happening. And we can make out that these two are holding them back. And same dolly out here. These two are holding him back. Close up. Now we're just getting dialogue. And yeah. And then this technically kind of like an over the shoulder shot again, but this is more just like foreground elements in the right Goto thirds. Left Goto thirds, we have this guy watching from a separate, he's like the referee, just kind of establishing a new dialogue point. Again, let's be done with a tripod. Camera, kind of telephoto lens, maybe like a 70 millimeter because we need to get him in a frame. And we did frame it up nice. Close up, we've established a new dialogue point, and then we've gone back to our bird's eye view to show the magnitude of the damage and just the entire field in general. And there was that spin, and there was a slight dolly out to kind of pull away from the situation. But yeah, that is kind of how my film mind would break down this entire scene in its entirety. Even though this was an anime and this was animated, there are still definitely some nuances between animation and filmmaking, I believe, especially in like these animation softwares. They use digital cameras in order to make these parallax movements for 3D and stuff, some 2D as well. But then 2D, I know, with drawing, and you kind of have to keep this in mind too, with as far as like lenses, motion blur, all these nuances that you have to now draw intentionally. But yeah, that's my interpretation. The solo leveling scene. I want to start out with something small. If you all would like to see more of this, let me know. And take care.